In this video, we're going to work with creating curved shapes or lines using the line tool or the artwork tool, and this is the same as using a regular run stitch or fill stitch, which you'll learn in digitizing shapes later, but it's the identical process. And as you saw in the previous video, when we worked with straight lines, it was just nothing more than left clicking. Now when you get to the point where you're now going to start curving, it's not difficult to do, but there's a couple things that you need to consider when doing it to get the results you want. So let's go ahead and let's zoom in over here. I'm going to go ahead and before I get started here, I'm going to select all of these items here, and I'm going to change the color. So by clicking all items, that selects everything. And I'm going to come in here and I just want to find a light shade of like gray. I need to go the other direction here. And the only reason I'm doing this is I want to be able to see the lines that I create really well. So let's go back to this one. So I have all of these in the same color now, and I'm going to lock this. So I'm going to click the little padlock because I don't want to accidentally select it. So now I'm ready to get started here, and I'm going to choose a color that you'll be able to see. So let's just do something bright like this pink right here. And I'm going to grab the artwork tool, either right here or right here. You'll notice I am in the regular line input mode, and I'm going to click that. And when you're doing curves, the only thing that you have to do is you hold down Control as you click, and you can only go so far. This is the part where you really have to practice. Creating straight lines is really easy. You know, you saw in the previous video, but when you start having to curve around a shape, it's a little bit more difficult. You can only go so far at a time when you're holding down Control, and I'll just show you kind of how that works. Naturally, I've been doing this a long time, so I just know kind of where I can click, about how far I can go before I need to click. And you'll see that it doesn't look like it's going to fit it until I click the next point here. So what happens if I go too far? Well, it doesn't fill it all the way along that line. So that's one of the things that you have to consider as you're creating these. So I'm going to hit backspace, because by hitting backspace it takes away the previous point. If I hit backspace again, or delete on your keyboard depending on what you're using, it takes it back. Now I can hold down Control and click again and just clean that up, and you can see that it's outlined that shape pretty well. It's not perfect, but it's definitely good enough. And I can close the shape, or I can just hold down Control and click right here, and then right mouse click outside of it. So you can see that I created that shape. And the other thing with working with this is whenever you're going from a curve to a straight point, you have to, what I call, drop a stitch. Or when you're going from one curve to another curve, you have to like drop a straight point there. And let me just show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to come in here again, and I'm going to select this artwork tool, and I'm going to make sure that I have this color selected, and I do. And I'm going to start it right here. I would definitely start it at a point like right here, so I can go around instead of starting it right here. It just makes sense to me to start in a section, an area where it's kind of opposing directions here. So I'm going to click right here. I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm going to click around this shape. And I'm going to come to this point, and I was holding down Control. I didn't for the very first stitch, but every single point after it, I held down Control so it would curve around the shape. And now, if I want to keep going with this tool, if I don't drop a stitch what I mean by that is just left mouse click without holding down control. Watch what happens. So I'm holding down control right now, and if I think I'm going to just keep going, watch what happens to this area right here. So I'm holding down control and I click. Notice it bends. It's curving that. And that's not what you want to happen. If you've ever experienced that, that's because you didn't drop a stitch first. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to hold down control to finish this one off. And then I'm just going to go very slight distance in from it. And I'm just going to left mouse click. I'm not going to hold down control. I'm just going to left mouse click. And now I can hold down control as I click around this shape. I just dropped that little point there, and that just corrected that intersection. And it prevented it. I'm going to right mouse click here. It prevented it from trying to curve around it just by dropping that one straight line point right there. So let's go back through it and let's do that part again here. So I'm going to grab my artwork tool. I'm going to click this first point, just regular. I'm not holding down control. You don't need to do that on the first point. But now to go around this curve, I'm going to hold down control on my keyboard. I'm going to keep it down and pressed as I left click around this shape. You can see I'm just going, not too far of a distance. And when I get to here, I'm still holding down control and I click. But then I'm just going to go a little distance in here, left click without holding down control. And then I'm going to press control again. And I'm going to left click around this shape. And we'll just keep going around it. And if you ever see, and I'm going to click again, now I'm going to release control. And I'm just doing a straight line, so I don't need to hold down control. I just left click, come up here. But if I hold down control and I click right here, notice it bends it again. So it's because I'm going in a different direction. And so I need to, after I click this point, I still need to come in here just a tad bit, left click, not holding down control, just to get this this angle or this part of the line started. Now I can hold down control and I can click around the shape. And this is something that just takes practice. It might seem a little confusing right now, but it's something that you have to learn how to control. And it's just one of the fun parts about learning your software. And so if I come in here, let's just take another look at one more of these. Let's come to this one right here. And let's select that artwork tool. In this case, I'm going to start right here because it's kind of going a different direction from the previous. So I left click, didn't hold the control. Now I'm going to start holding down control, and I'm going to click around here. And when I get to this point, I'm still holding down control, and I click. Now I need to let off of control and just create a little stitch right there. And then now hold down control and go back around. And now I'm releasing control, doing it, and I can go all the way down because it's a straight line here. And then I need to drop another little line right here, or another point, because now I'm wanting to start doing curves. So I'm just going to left click right here. Now I'm going to hold down control and just go around this shape. It's just important to understand that when you're starting to go a different direction, that's when you're going to have to drop a stitch. So what happens if I come in here right here and I decide to release the control and just create a straight line? Well, it makes that a straight line. It doesn't bend it. So you'll want to hold down control to create that curve all the way to here, but your next point, because you're now going a different direction, needs to be a regular left click. And this happens to be a straight line, so I can just click, click, click. But now I'm starting to go a different direction. I'm going to have to use a curved line, so I'm going to drop a stitch. Hopefully this is starting to make sense to you a little. And the thing is, I highly recommend, I'm using those custom shapes here. Just grab these same custom shapes, and that'll allow you, and you see I did release the control key just to do one straight line. And now I've released it again, and I just left click. Now I'm holding Control again, and then I'm closing that shape up, and I'm right mouse clicking. So all of these shapes that I have here are just ones that you can grab from your custom shapes. Just like when working with the lines, you'll see that I'm using like this symbol. I had this clubs, I had the cherries, and I even got one that's a little bit more complex that might take a little bit more time for you to do. So that's how you hold down Control and click to go around a curve. Now, I will tell you that I've since switched the way that I create curved lines, and I just want to show that to you. This is something that you may be interested in learning how to do. I think it creates much cleaner lines, and that's by just clicking the artwork tool. And this takes a little bit of practice, just like the other does, but I think that it's worth learning how to do it this way. Instead of holding down Control and going all the way around this design, I'm going to left click at the beginning, and I'm going to go follow this curve a little bit to where I think that it's going to start bending too much, and I'll show you why. So I'm going to drop a point right here. I'm going to drop a point about right here because that looks like a good clean shape right there. I'm going to drop one right here. And the reason I'm going to drop it like about right here is because it's following this shape right here, but now it's going to start bending back the other way. So just kind of like when we were working with dropping a point in, I'm looking at areas that the lines start changing direction. So I'm going to click right here, and this one kind of comes all the way around right there. So I'm going to hit close shape on this one instead of clicking right on that point again. And this is going to look kind of funny to you because that's what I created. That looks nothing like this shape. But I've only created 1, 2, 3, 4, and basically 5 points. So it was really quick, right? I wasn't holding down Control going all the way around. But watch what I can do now. I can get the shape tool, the shape edit tool, which you can access right here too. Just make sure that that line is selected. Click on it. And now with an update in the software not too long back, now I can click a line and I can drag it. And notice that I'm just clicking and dragging, and look at how I've been able to basically get it to fit that shape. I'm going to grab this line in the middle between these 2 points, and I'm going to drag it to the line. Notice that this one doesn't go all the way to the edge, but that's okay. It doesn't follow it perfectly. All I'm going to do at first is just get them really close if they don't line up perfectly already, which all of them did except for this part of the line. Now all I need to do is click on one of these points, this one or this one, and I get my control handles. And now I can click and drag it. This is where it takes a little bit of time to get used to, but not that much time. But you do have to practice it. And now I've just created that shape. But the great thing about this shape is look at how clean it is. It's not jaggedy because I don't have a bunch of points in there. And so this is why I've gone to this method. I actually feel like it's pretty fast to do it this way. It's not the fastest every single time, but the majority of the time I use it because it is so clean. The artwork is very clean when you're done. And the thing is if you're working with a cutter, especially, you want it as clean as it can be. But even converting artwork to embroidery, the cleaner the lines are, the better. So I do recommend you try this method. Now, when doing this one, I brought this one up for this reason, to show you. So I'm going to click the artwork tool. Let me go ahead and click this pink color again. So in doing this design, it's kind of fun. This would take a while to outline if I'm just clicking and holding down Control, going around. It would just take a while, but watch this. left click. Everywhere it's going to change direction is where I'm left clicking. So quickly, I'm going to close the shape by using the close shape tool. I've created my outline path, and now I select it, and then I go to the shape edit, either right here or right here if you have those controls showing, and I get into the edit mode. Now watch. I just come up here, and I'm going to click and drag. Some of these are going to take a little bit of finagling, but not much at all. And I'm just dragging these shapes pretty quickly. And so now I need to do a little bit of work, but I don't need to do a whole lot. I'm going to click on a point here. I'm going to drag this over, and I can see that I need to do it with this one as well. This one looks pretty good. If I zoom in, I might see more, but if you're zooming in to take a better look at it, then you're really going too far, because this visually looks pretty good. And if I'm zoomed in, yeah, I'm going to see some imperfections, but really I'm concerned with how big the design is. If it looks clean and clear right here, I'm good to go at this size. So I'm going to click here. You can see I'm just clicking the points and then moving the handlebars. You can see I drug that one down, and then I'm going to drag this one up, and you'll see that it does a pretty good job. I might have to finagle things a little bit more here and there, but I quickly created that shape, and look at how clean it is. If I click on the shape edit, I only have a few nodes in this design, a few points in this design. Now, if I come in here and I do the same thing, but I instead hold down Control as I go around, I'm going to try to get this straight. So I'm not trying to like make it. Now let go of curve or Control. Now I'm going to hold down Control again. I'm not going to try to make this look choppy. This is just how things will look as you create around a shape. So I'm not doing anything out of the ordinary here. I'm just holding down Control as I go around, and after I get to that current corner, I'm releasing Control, clicking one time, and then holding down Control again. But you can see it's taken me a little while, and it's just it's not that it takes a long time. It's just you'll see when I click off of it, it just isn't the same result. Okay, click there. Now I'm going to select it, change it to the pink color. I'm going to drag it up, and just notice that there's a lot more like rigidness to this design. It's pretty good, but you can see these little humps all in different areas. If I hold down, or if I click on the shape edit, you can see how many nodes or points that I have. It's just not as clean. And I think it takes, just depends, similar amount of time to do it the other way. But I just prefer to do it that way. And the hardest part is when you're working with the straight lines that you're going to curve, it's just knowing how far you can go between points. And so let's look at this one just one last time. I'm going to click right here. Following this line, you can see that now it starts flattening out in this direction, and then it's going to start curving back. So I'm going to go about halfway, about right here, and click. And then you can see that it follows a curve pretty good until this point. So I'll click right there. I'll come down and I'll go even with that point, just because. Click here. Now I'm going to follow this curve around. Now it's pretty clean all the way through here. I would just have to edit a lot because it's a really sharp turn. So I'm going to come to about right here. And I'm just basing this off of, I could go even to like right here. Basing this off of just previous experience, that is a pretty easy shape to make. This is a pretty easy shape to make. So I'm going to click here. This one kind of wraps around. I might just go straight across this way. Click once right there, click once right there. On this one, I'll just go straight down. But you can see kind of what I'm doing here. And this one kind of curves, and then it starts coming around. So I'm going to click about right here, and I'll click about right here so I can cover that area, and then I can cover this area right here. I can cover this area right here, and then cover this area. Hope that makes sense. When I say just I'm going to cover that area when I bend it. And this one, straight across. I'm going to come up, and so I'm kind of looking at this area right here, so I can click right here, click right there, and then again I can click about right here, and then I can close it up. So when I created this shape, this is what it looks like to start with. It was quick to get around it. Now I can click on that shape edit, and now all I need to do is click and drag. Now in this case where it kind of bows a little bit more, I might click a little bit further up than halfway and drag it down, because look at what happens there. It creates that kind of shape. So in this case, it's more here, less there. So I might kind of grab it right in here. And again, this is practice. So because it's more bold here, I'm going to go further up than halfway, and I'm going to click and drag. But you can see just practicing, you get pretty good at judging that. And you can see I'm going to have to tweak this some. I went a little bit further than I normally would by putting the point there. Usually I'd put it about right there. But you can see I'm going to have to tweak a little bit. There's no doubt, but it's pretty simple to do. The biggest thing is I'm creating a very clean outline or shape by doing it in this method. I can do it in so many fewer of nodes or points. And so now when tweaking it, it's really simple. Click on that node. I'm just going to drag this, and I might need to drag this one up a little bit more like that. That looks pretty good. One of the things that I try to do, I do look at these two lines right here. And one of the things I try to do is get this in a very straight line. So this one, it kind of comes down, and then it starts changing direction a little bit. So I'll just move that one up, usually, to where it looks like it's in a straight line. Because then I can come to this one, and I can drag this one down. That just makes sure that there's not much of a bump right here at this point, if that makes sense. So on these, this is looking pretty good. Again, you could zoom in, you probably will find some imperfections, but it's not necessary to zoom in. This is going to be clean, clean enough. So I can drag this one down. I'm going to need to drag this one up. So I might need to tweak it again, because I'm going to try to get this in a straight line here. So I might need to go about right there. I can always come back to this one and drag it down a little bit. So I kind of got ahead of myself with that one, but here we go. And I'll show you why I say that, because now this one isn't straight. So I'm clicking this point. I'm going to get this one more straight. And then I'm going to click this one and just to maneuver it a little bit. You can see this one I took a little bit more time than I did on the others, but on the other points. But you can see it's pretty good. You can see this one I might need to come down a little bit, but it's a very clean piece of artwork. So let's select it and move it out of the way. And you can see just how clean the shape is. And that's why I like to utilize that method. And so I know that this video was a little bit longer, but I definitely wanted to show you why I do it that way. And the only last thing that we need to talk about when working with and creating shapes and lines is an example like this one right here, where you have a a shape and then you have something cut out. And by cut out, I mean this part right here is empty. There's nothing in it. It's just the background you're seeing. But this is one shape, right? So when you're creating something like this, we'll do this really quick. I'm grabbing the line tool. I'm going to change the color. And I'm just going to go around this shape really quick. And this is a case where I probably would hold down Control because I'm going to go right back into a straight and I don't have to do that many clicks. So there are times where I'll choose to hold down Control. Like I said, not many though. I'm going to close the shape. And then I need to come into this one and I need to outline this area, this inner part. And the reason I need to do that is because I need to cut it out. And I'm not trying to make this perfect, but you can see that I have two shapes. I have this one and I have this one. And if I try to fill in this outer one, notice it all fills up. And it all fills up because it's just one object in and of itself. This one is a separate object. So what I need to do is select both of them. I can do that by clicking and dragging over both of them. And I need to use this combine tool, or some people call cookie cutter tool. It's going to cut it out. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And now notice in the sequence view, I have only one object. So it's not two pieces anymore. And now because I combined it, if I go to fill, now it's going to fill it and it's going to leave that part out that I just punched through using this combine tool. There'll be other videos that talk about the combine tool, but it's just important to, at this point, talk a little bit about creating a shape. If you need to cut something out, you have to create it as two different objects and then you have to combine it. So that's how you work with curves and creating lines.